I tell you, I got another service call to go to. As it is, does Joe have enough on his plate today? Of course I do. But that doesn't stop people from calling me, and I'm going to fix it for this guy too. He's called me up. He's got a vacation condo. He wants me to go check it out. He's got a toilet that's tipping and a kitchen faucet that's dripping. No joke. Am I a professional plumber? No. But I can look at his toilet, I can figure it out, and I'll be able to fix it. What about the faucet? Have I ever fixed this problem before? Probably not. But I'm going to look at it anyways, and I'm going to show you the different steps that I go through to fix something. And you know what? If I can do it, you can do it. Stick around, you might learn something. And this toilet looks pretty good. Not sure what is exactly wrong just yet. Now, you remember the report was that this toilet was tipping. Tipping? What are they talking about? Tipping. From side to side it looks pretty good. Sometimes you gotta sit on the toilet and check it out and see what's going on, you know? And sure enough, it's tilting to the back when you get off. See, it moves just a little bit. And I can see there's a little gap here when I'm not on the toilet. I push down on it, and it pushes back down to the caulking line. That means I'm going to have to take these bolts and tighten these bolts. There's some caps here. I'll show you how to pull those off in a minute. But that looks easy enough. Let's get to it. All these to remove that cap? Well, not really. But these are different things that you can use to pop this cap. Because if that cap's really super tight, you might have to take a really thin putty knife and wedge under there, or a little bit thicker one. Even got some little tiny screwdrivers. Maybe I can wedge that underneath there and lift it just a little bit, then use a bigger screwdriver and pop it off. But see, I can't get this big screwdriver under there, and I don't want to start hitting that with a hammer and bend that and mess it all up. You know what I mean? Just take your time and figure out which tool, and like I said, you might need a few things. We'll see if we can pop that up. It should be easy enough, but that cap's been on there for at least 8 years that I know of. Okay? So just be careful with those, because you want to reuse those caps and snap them back down. I'm going to try to keep out of your way. I'm not generally left-handed, but I'm going to try to do this with my left hand so I'm not in your way. I think I'm going to try, yeah, see that putty knife, it might, yeah, it's not doing it just yet. This one's a little bit stiffer and thicker. So I think I'm going to try one of these little thin screwdrivers. Let's see if I can't. Wow. Jeez. Oh. Wow. Man, it's on there. Mercy me. I think I got it just barely. I'm going to put another little screwdriver under there. Wow. There. There. Okay, I got it up a little bit. Maybe just enough to get my big screwdriver under there. Whoa! Okay, there it comes. See? Jeez. Okay. Wow. Wow, you're kidding me. Why is it so hard? You know, I'm not sure what's going on with that. Wow. Let's see what's happening here. Man, see? Somebody put some mastic or something under there and was all rusted on there. Get that cleaned off a little bit. Wow, that's a buildup of something there. That shouldn't be on there. That was keeping that from wedging up on the sides. Jeez. You see how this is, see how this cap, this is the bottom portion of that cap. Then the cap snaps onto that. And see how it's spinning like that? It shouldn't be doing that. And I'm going to have to get a little wrench and tighten that up. Before I do that, I want to clean this up a little bit. Jeez. Okay. Wow. Now let's talk about this for a moment before you get all rambunctious and think, oh, okay, I'll just tighten that nut down and be good and call it good, and that'll fix it. Let's think about this a little bit. The interesting thing I first see here is here's the plastic nut on the bottom side. You know, that's a big fat washer. That's for this cap to snap on, okay? You need to have that down there first in order for these caps like this to snap on there. Okay, but you see there's no metal washer in between this plastic backing piece and the nut. They should have put one of those on there, by golly. And that's why when they initially installed the toilet, they couldn't tighten this down all the way. Because this plastic nut, the plastic washer deal, see, it can slide. You see how it slides back and forth? Because it's got a little notch in it, and that's designed so that when you put your metal washer on there, you can kind of line that up where you want, and then the metal washer pushes down on the plastic and the nut goes down on that. You can get it down tight. See how this is lifted up? This plastic, that's because they tighten this nut, and the hole in this plastic washer is really big, and in fact, part of the nut is almost pushing through this plastic washer. And that's why, see how pooched up it is now? Look at that. See that? It's pooched up like that because if I tighten that nut anymore, this is just going to pooch up more, and it's not really going to tighten the toilet down. You see what I mean? They should have had a washer there first, and because they didn't, initially when they installed this toilet, they could only tighten this down so tight before the washer started going up through it. So they called it good, and then they went ahead and caulked around the toilet. Well, the other side is exactly the same way. I pulled it up and we've got that. So what do you suppose I'm going to do? What should we do here? You know, if I put a washer on there right now, it's really not going to do anything. And let me tell you why. Well, there's a couple reasons why. And the first reason is I'd have to take this nut all the way off and then put the washer down in there. Because you saw how rusty it was and all that buildup on there. That was just, I don't know what exactly that was. It was just a buildup of stuff that came up through the plastic and built up around this cap. You remember? Well, my concern is if I can't get this nut off very easily, it might start twisting this bolt. And the bolt that's coming up has a little groove in it. And there's a groove in the flange down in the floor to where this bolt fits in, so you can't pull it up all the way. If I start unscrewing this nut, and if I start twisting this, I run the jeopardy of pulling this bolt right up out from the groove in the Herkel flange, okay? That's the first thing I'm concerned about. And because I've got another way to fix this, I don't really want to mess with that. And it's really not going to do much now anyways, because it's existing now. It's been down about 8 years. And even if I do put a washer there, I take this nut off, It's going to be hard to get off because the threads are rusty and old, and this might start twisting and everything. Even if I could get it off, I might jeopardize and have a problem with this, with the nut going back on nice and easy. And once I start tightening that, it could spin this still and still come out. I've had it happen. Okay, and really that's not going to do much anyways for this toilet because it's 8 years old. All right, and at the floor line it's been caulked. So that caulking is 8 years old. There's no way I can push this down any tighter. Okay, let me explain a little bit more for you. Are you learning anything yet? I sure hope you are. Okay, well, the toilet was rocking back and forth a little bit, just a little bit, okay? And upon further inspection, if you see, the floor is a natural cultured stone floor. You've got different tiles, and I noticed this back tile is a little bit lower. This whole row back there is a little bit lower than the rest of the toilet. And because they initially didn't have this down tight enough, when you put weight on there later, it had a tendency to push back. Now, when they caulked that, maybe it didn't dry all the way and somebody had to use the bathroom real quick, and then the caulking pushed down, and then they got up off the toilet, and then that raised back up a little bit because this was not perfectly flat on the floor. They should have put a shim or something at the front edge of this toilet after they tried to tighten it down. But in reality, had they have had the washers there, that could have sucked this down just a little bit further on their initial install before they caulked that. Then the caulking gap wouldn't have been as big. Does that all make sense? Well, now, you know, I can't push this down any further in the back. See, it's raised up. The front edge is raised up until you sit on the toilet. Then the front goes back down. You let go, and this springs back up. It only springs up, you know, 1/16 of an inch or less, 32nd of an inch. That's all. So what I've got to do is, no matter how tight I make this, the front edge is still going to be lifted up because this, reality, the back tile is low and this front tile is low. The only tile, and this tile right here is actually higher than everything else, and that's where they tried to tighten everything. Well, that's where the flange is. There's nothing out in the front of this toilet. Okay, to tighten down, you got that bolt and one on the other side, and that's what holds the whole toilet. Because this front tile was a little bit low too, they should have put a shim down there, right? Well, they didn't do it, and they thought, oh, we'll just caulk it. When the caulking's dry, kaboom, that'll suck it all in. And in theory, that could have worked, but like I say, somebody probably used the toilet, or they didn't put enough caulking in there. The caulking didn't really stick to the toilet like they thought it would, and all that. So I'm going to leave these bolts alone, and I'm not going to worry about a washer or anything. I don't even think I'm going to tighten that, because I know I've got to put something underneath here. Now, what are we going to do with that? How are we going to fix that? Any ideas yet? You know, I always say there's more than one way to fix something. I'm going to explain at least 2 different ways you can fix this yourself.